Welcome to Hear Us Out, episode 2. Hi, guys.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
We're excited to be back and to touch on today's topic of
First impressions, right? I think first impressions are very important. Or at least that's what I heard when I was in college.
yes, for sure.
They leave an everlasting impression. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
but should you make a judgment, a concrete judgment based off of someone's first impression, do you think?
man, I don't think so, but it's hard not to.
Yeah.
I would say that yes, you shouldn't, but it's very difficult not to do that. Or I mean, it's done to me.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree
for sure. Yeah, but I do think that sometimes first impressions do carry some sense of truth.
Yeah,
to you.
for sure.
Right. For example, as we get into this, for example, my first impression of you was that you were very to touch on last episodes. That you were very sweet, that you were very kind, that yes, you were very gullible at times, very bubbly. Yeah, and it didn't.
Do you remember the first day we met, or no? You don't really remember. I don't remember the first day we met.
I do. Well, like officially as I was a secretary, or
I guess
we moved back.
Do you remember the day that? Well, yeah, you have to remember the day that I gave you my first impression, because that's what you based yourself off of, right? Off of me.
I think if I really have to dig it out, is my first impression was when we arrived to well, back then it was called Oxnard Revival Center. I was 12.
Way back.
Yeah, like really way back. 12.
Well, okay.
And I remember that you were friends already with Karina and Edith, and Karina and Edith sort of like pushed you down Kelly and my down our throats.
Shout out to Karina.
Shout out to Karina and Edith. And it was just sort of like, these are my cousins, and this is our best friend, and we're like, okay, I mean, keep in mind, Kelly and I grew up obviously very different from kids here in the U.S. I love my cousin Karina and Edith. Okay, there's no doubt that I love them. However, for us, for Kelly and myself, Karina and Edith were a little too much. They were
hyper. They were bubbly.
Yes. They were you. They were very like loud, and
we bonded for a reason.
Yes, and friendly and everything. And Kelly and I were very much like, However, I would say this: I think Kelly managed to sort of blend in, and I didn't. I don't. I mean, Kelly went to so many junior camps, and
yeah, I don't remember you. Yeah.
No. I never.
Let me rephrase that. I don't remember you when I was young. I said I don't remember you young. I don't remember you when I was young.
I was always, or at least I felt like I was always an adult stuck in a child's body. Mm-hmm. So I always liked to hang out with older people. Always. That was always my go-to. Like I didn't really relate with children my age.
Right.
Especially when we came here, the language barrier was huge for me.
Yeah. And
then that made it that much worse, of like, I don't relate with this type of kids, and then language barrier. So bye. So yes, I don't think I blended as well as Kelly did. I think Kelly,
we wouldn't have been friends.
Yeah, I don't think we would have been friends. And so I that's what I remember when we were kids. Now, as we grew older, I remember that you were in one of our family's Bible studies. I remember, I don't know, like, I'm talking about 5 years or so.
I was in a lot of parties. I remember going.
Right.
I don't remember.
However, I don't remember you in parties.
Your Monday prayers. Yes,
I
remember going.
Those.
Yes.
I remember in Monday prayers. And I remember that my tia Mireya made a comment of like, well, ¿qué es? Something como like, ¿qué es muy sabia?
Ay.
Qué chita. Sorry for people's ears. I'm sorry. And I really thought you were very, very like, she's a bookworm with Bible. You know, she probably knows her Bible.
Not.
She probably knows her Bible, you know, and I really thought, oh my God, esta me va a ver todos mis pecados.
Oh my gosh.
So that I would think that was my first impression. Then when I started working, I do remember that day. I do remember my first day working. I remember it because I don't know if I think I revealed it to you later, but I took my mom's van and the brakes stopped working. In fact, I think you took me home that day.
I have I have a terrible memory.
Yeah.
So
If it wasn't you, maybe it was Pastor, but I remember someone gave me a ride because the brakes of my mom's car, they stopped working.
Oh.
Se quedó ahí en la iglesia, la van. And so that whole time that I drove to church, the brakes didn't work.
oh wow.
And it was a very scary situation for me. I remember I called my mom. When I got to church, I called my mom, you wanted me to die. You knew that the brakes weren't working. Obviously, very mature of me to assume that my own mother would do that to me.
Right.
She obviously didn't know they were not working. Anyway, so I remember that I go in there and I'm trembling. And this is January, so it was still pretty cold. And I remember I went in there and both you and Michelle were, oh my God, are you cold? Oh my God. And I remember I sat there and because it was my training day that day, I sat in Michelle's desk and while she was sort of training me. And the heater, you guys put it like right next to me, right next to me, and
I loved that heater. Lula hated that heater.
Oh yeah. Like
we're never on the same temperature
no,
for the record.
Never. But I almost fainted like twice because of that heater. But anyway, and so I remember that you both were very much, oh my goodness, especially you. Oh my goodness, Lula, like you're trembling, here, get the heater. And I'm like, if only you knew. And I'm like, yes, I'm cold. And so how caring you were, that only reinforced my already like, oh, okay, so she is that sweet. I remember when Pastor asked me to work there, my first thing was, I'm not going to have nothing in common with her. Like, I'm mean.
You're not mean.
I'm not anymore. I'm very, because I really thought you were like a girl, like a little girl, and so I'm thinking I'm not ladylike, I'm not this and I'm not that. I'm very obnoxious sometimes with my, whatever. So that was something that I was very concerned about. Like, we're not going to talk at all. And in fact, we didn't like a couple weeks. And so that was my impression of you, that you were very gullible, very bubbly, very friendly, very kind, almost fake.
Dare I say?
Might I add? But I mean, that's just a me thing. I have a thing for very
sweet people,
overly kind people. They freak me out. Obviously trauma maybe. but yes. So what about you?
Okay, so similarly to Lula's recounting of her story, I had only heard of her from her cousins, and even then, your reputation was already intimidating for me. Her cousins would describe her as extremely smart, much of a bookworm, always researching something. And that was like from what I heard about her, but I had never really talked to her. I don't even remember that
I don't think so.
prayer or anything like that. I just knew that you were educating yourself and you were very... I remember them saying, like, she uses a lot of psychology to kind of like understand people and explain people. And so I was like, okay, so she reads people, so I knew that from the beginning. And, then, our boss obviously was like, hey, we're looking to replace the secretary position. What do you think of this person? And I'm going to be honest, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure she's going to do a good job. I'm sure that she's going to do her job. But I was intimidated, if I'm honest. Because as we mentioned in, the first episode, once you started going more, to church and you were being a little bit more consistent, I never felt to say hi.
That's how you know. That's how you know she was like, eh.
I don't know, because I'm the kind of person that kind of tends to match people's feeling and
Right.
attitude. And so she was always very, serious. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to annoy this one. And, so when we were working together, I think I made it a point to talk about like, what we can and can't do at church, and part of that, is, how you handle difficult situations and stuff like that. And because my impression was like, she's tough. She says it like it is. She doesn't have a filter. I was scared about that, because again, very different. I'm very, like if I'm gonna offend you, I'm not gonna say anything, So I was scared about that. And then our first week comes, and she doesn't say anything.
You're like, she's
like,
mute
at all. Like I'm a talker. I'm very much, like if I feel someone is uncomfortable in the room, I'm uncomfortable because I will start to overthink and worry. Am I the cause of that person's discomfort? Am I making them, uncomfortable by the way I'm chewing, anything in the room, my music, So immediately I was trying to like interrogate, like, hi, how are you? How was your day? Good. Okay. So what'd you do today? And she's like, oh, I went to the gym with my mom. Okay. And you would go for periods of like not saying anything. So it was like hitting a wall. I was like, okay, she already intimidates me. At the time you didn't ask for help. And so it was like, I don't know how to connect, with this person. I don't know if she even likes me. For the beginning, I thought you didn't. And the whole time I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is,
right.
And I think I wore you down. I think if I'm honest, I think I'm glad. I don't feel like I give up easily with people.
Right.
And I kept like every day, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? And I would agree. I would agree that at the beginning I was very bubbly and I showed that part of myself. I was also very immature. So yes, I do believe that my way came off, fake, very, very, but to me, it's like the nicer that I can be, the more I can hide how I really feel, which is you're intimidating me. Like you're scaring me because you could be smarter. You could be more, pretty much equipped to do my job even. And so there's a lot of that playing in. So I rather just mask it with being nice, So, that was definitely my first impression,
Little did she know is that I was having a hard time with Excel sheets. Yeah, all right. Well,
so that was our first impression. So what do you think was the turning point in our relationship that opened you up to tolerate me?
Man. I think I don't quite remember the conversation, but I would say I think we had a conversation where I realized, oh, she's not that nice. Like I don't know. I mean, by that time we had already hit like what's
our first
like, I don't think. All right. Yes. So I think it was a situation. It wasn't a fight, guys. It wasn't a fight.
Thursday.
No.
It wasn't that one?
It wasn't that one. It wasn't that one. I think it was prior to
Number
that.
54.
Yeah. The second month.
Yeah.
No, I think it was prior to that. We had a conversation. It wasn't a discussion or anything. We had a conversation where I thought, oh, she thinks like me. I think it was relating to something in church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think very miraculously you gave your opinion before I did, and I realized, oh, okay, so we kind of think alike. We that's something I can see eye to eye with her, and then that eventually propelled me to open up a lot more.
Yeah.
A lot more about what I thought, a lot more about what I felt. And then we hit that one event where it wasn't Mother's Day, it was prior to that, where I was really upset.
Mm-hmm.
I was really upset, and I think you asked me, "Hey, like, are you okay?" And that was my chance. I think that was my chance where I thought I'm going to lay it out for her and hopefully and see where this takes us.
Yeah.
And I think I did. I opened up to you about how upset I was about the situation, and you were like, "Dang, I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry." And then you apologized and everything. But and so after that, I realized that I can talk to her. I know because we spent like 2 days after that, kind of like.
Oh, okay. I know where we're at.
All
I know
right,
where we're
all
at.
right. Yeah, remember which one? Where
Yeah,
are you
I was like,
thinking
which
of?
one? I know. Okay, here's the thing. It's not that we're always fighting. I think we've fought much less than we used to. I think it was one of those things where because we were barely getting to know each other, we were constantly meeting each other like what's wrong, you know, and it was also like my chance to know who you are, know
Mm-hmm.
how you react to certain situations, and the only way that I could find that out is everything okay? You know,
Right.
are you upset? And you know, so just to make that clear.
Yeah, because I used to be a strong believer of let it float in the air and hope it disappears.
Oh,
Obviously,
God.
I found out through Kes that not only is that not how she works, that's not how you operate, but that is very detrimental to any relationship, you know. And I mean, free advice. Some things they don't float in the air.
Some
and
things,
they,
and I like how you said
and
that.
and they don't disappear, you know. And I think again I learned it through you that we need to discuss, we need to get to the bottom of it. So that time I decided, hey, I'm very upset.
Yeah.
I'm very upset, and I couldn't even hide it.
Mm-mm.
I mean, to the point that you were like, so you are upset. I know you are. You know what? Because I think you not only did you tell me that I was upset. You said, why?
Yeah.
I think you asked me why, like what took me to that point, and I was like, okay, then here it is. And after that, I think we spent. I think you realized that
You had a boundary.
I had a boundary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I realized that you also had a boundary with how, I don't want to say how sorry you were, but how.
I'm not gonna keep begging you.
Yeah, there you go. So you had a boundary with I apologized, I said my piece, and now it's up to you. And if you don't want to get over that, then I can't do nothing.
Yeah.
So so you realized I had a boundary, and I realized you also had a boundary, and I think we both agreed that okay, we need to speak up more.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't wait for the other person to ask what is wrong. That took us work though. You know, that took us work because you know, time passed and we still kept asking like, hey, like what's wrong, and things like that. But for the most part, I think that was the event
point for you.
that I thought, okay, this is, I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak, and I'm going to say, hey, here it is.
Yeah.
For you?
We started opening up a lot more, and there was an instance where we had a very vulnerable conversation, and I think I understood you for the first time. I think that I realized not that your toughness or your strength is a facade, but there's a reason for it.
Right.
And it's also kind of your protection, you know? And so when I realized what was really going on, I had empathy for you. And so I wasn't coming at you as like, you know, she's stern, or she's tough, or, you know, she's not conscious of what she's saying. It was more of like, you don't know the full story. You don't understand. And I think that's when I started my approach a little bit different. And I think I had a lot more grace, because I do think at the beginning I was judgmental. I do think at the beginning I misunderstood you. And so it was easier for me to be like, I don't get her. I don't get why we're not approaching this situation in the same way, because I thought my way was the right way. And if you're not doing it my way, then you must be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't the case. It was, no, you can approach the situation two different ways. And when you know the person's motive and their intention, you'll have understanding
Right.
for them. And so I think that's what made me not just look at you as my coworker, but started to look at you as my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like you were beginning to trust me. And because I felt like you were beginning to trust me, I also felt like, okay, then I can trust her.
Right.
And I can now have an expectation of, if she's giving me this information and she's expecting me to care for her, then I can do the same.
Right.
And I think that's when things kind of changed in my end, you know?
Well, I'm glad you're touching on expectations, because here's my question. Then, do you think we should have expectations
For friendships?
for friendships, for relationships?
In my opinion, I think that it's almost impossible to not have expectations for a friendship. And I'll use my marriage as an example. When you make a commitment to someone, you obviously say in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, you know, for poorer, for richer, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But there is an expectation of, you know, I'm entering into this marriage on the grounds that, you know, you'll be faithful, on the grounds that you will respect me, on the grounds that you won't harm me. And I'm pretty sure that most people would agree that you would not stay in a marriage if, you know, your husband, you know, started, you know, hurting you, started abusing you, started, you know, affecting you in that
Right.
way. You know, there is an expectation that I have for Joel to take care of me, to protect me. You know, now
Right.
that to me is what I find to be the appropriate expectation. That I expect him to be a millionaire? No. Do I expect him to be in a happy mood every day? No. And I think that's the point. You know, you should be able to have expectations for a friendship that are rational, that they have
Healthy.
sense, that are healthy. You know, so I would say, yes, I do think that I have expectations for friendships, because I have been in relationships where you give and you give and you care and you love and you invest, and not just financial, but your time, your information, your heart, and you don't get that in return.
Mm-hmm.
And there are instances where some people stay and they're just like, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be loyal, and that's great and all, but I do think that I should be met. If, you know, I care for you and I love you and I pray for you and I want the best for you, I don't think it's wrong for me to expect the same from you, you know? And again, we always say this, everything in moderation.
Everything in
This
moderation.
is Lula's quote. She taught me that. Everything in moderation.
Balance, baby.
Because because honestly, like, yeah, I think that if, you know, the expectation was, Lula, I expect you to tolerate me no matter what I'm going through, no matter what I'm feeling. I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to be upset at you. I'm going to just, you know, insult you. You should be able to take it because that's my expectation of a friendship.
Right.
No, no, 100%. I don't agree with that. But I do expect trust. I do expect loyalty,
Right.
and I expect respect.
Right.
And I think that that's healthy.
And I think you mentioned something. You said to, oh man, I'm having a lot of brain farts right now.
You do that.
Oy.
Balance, baby.
No. No, I think you said something about realistic expectations.
Right.
And to I got it. I think also is we realized that we can have expectations for each other, at least, you know, in our friendship, but we also realized that the way our expectations can be met are different. I'm not, let me see if I can explain that better.
Deconstruct that.
Yeah. For example, you are a talker, right? So your expectation of me is that we talk, that we convey each other's feelings, that we convey even when we're not feeling it, right?
Yeah.
My way of being is, at least at the beginning, was, no, you know, I don't want to talk about it, or you know, like, or rather, not that I don't want to talk about it, but it was one of those things where, if this isn't conducive to to a real change, why even open it? You know, why even begin with it? So obviously that's how
you saw it.
That's how I saw it, right? Like, oh, you know, I can get, that's up to me to get over. So
And
let's
I
not
was
speak
like,
about it.
you fail me
Right.
by not allowing me to grow.
Right. And so what we started doing was, all right, I can't meet you. I will meet that expectation of, for example, your expectation was, I want to talk and I want to grow, right? And you need to allow me to do that. You need to give me the space to do that. So my now is like, okay, how can I meet her without compromising, you know, well, not really, because for that you need to compromise your comfort, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the times it was very uncomfortable to have
Those
conversations of like, well, you know what, the way you behaved,
I didn't
like it.
Appreciate it.
So I think to get back to my point of, we realized that we can't meet each other's expectations without failing in a way of who we are.
Yeah.
I guess of or our approaches.
Like, you're still you and I'm still me,
right.
even if what you're expecting out of me doesn't come easy to me.
And the why I say this is because I feel like in the world out there, we see a lot of people saying things like, well, if, like, for example, if they can meet you, if they can meet your energy 100%, then they don't deserve you.
Yeah. And
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's a good tool to teach children about friendships. Or, you know, anyone, because it's not always like that. You know, I mean, for example, if I'm about to make a decision that will harm me, but because I want to feel good, you know, is my friend going to should my real friend match me 100% there? I don't think so. I think that a true friend will tell you, you know what you're about to do might not be a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm here for when you come out of it, but I don't want to see you get hurt. You know, I love you, and you know, and so I'm still matching the expectation of, I'm your friend.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to compromise, you know,
my values,
who I am. So I mean, it also helps us that we're both Christian. We both always come down to the same beliefs. We might approach it differently, but we always settle on, okay, God first. But I do think it's important to let our listeners know that, you know, if you are having a friendship where you think you need to give your 100% and you need to match that person 100%, think again. Because it also depends, right? If you have the same values, why not meet you 100% there, right? Like, for example, when I remember when Kes showed me her binder for her wedding. She had a whole binder of all the outfits for her honeymoon, of the calendar,
OCD planning over here.
Yeah, when she was gonna wear each dress, and I remember when she showed me that. Why there wasn't a reason for me to not match your energy, or, you know, how people say it. There wasn't a reason for me to not match your enthusiasm, right? And hey, you know, she's happy, I'll be happy. You know, this is new. You know, seeing a person with their whole binder about their vacation, that was new to me. But I'm on it. You know, I'm on it. Versus, you know, when for example, I don't know. I think I see this a lot. Like, when people say, "You're my ride or die," you know, if I kill someone, you shouldn't ask why.
Any questions? I would ask you, Casey.
you should just go and help me bury the body, right? I feel that I hear that a lot, and that's a very glamorized and romanticized version of a friendship. I think, yes, a friend would be like, "Why would you do that?" You know, like, where did you pray?
I think, you know, one of the things I've learned, we love listening to Jordan Peterson. Lula introduced me to him, and he says something about how in a relationship you should find someone that you should contend with. You should be challenged constantly, and I think that growing up is one thing, when you're in high school is one thing, but as an adult, you cannot be in a relationship, or rather, I don't think it's a successful relationship where you're not growing and you're not being better and you're not challenged, because I don't do you any good if I don't tell you the truth.
Right.
And I think that that's where we get wrong, because now we live in a world where, well, this is my truth. This is how I see things. This is how I feel. And that may be so, but if the end result should be, I want the best for my friend, the best for my friend isn't always what she wants to do and how she feels. It's no, the truth is, this is not going to lead you in the best direction. And I think that that's something that we learned and we value in our friendship, that I am going to call you out on things. I am going to tell you, no, estabas mal, or no hiciste bien. And I expect the same.
Right.
And I think that I become a better person. I have become a better person since we started working together, since we became friends. I think I've become much stronger. I think I've become a much more rational person, because I used to be very emotional, very, very, and I still am. I still struggle with that, and that's not a bad thing. But when you always act on your emotions first, that can be dangerous, because you don't lead with your mind. You don't lead with the truth. You lead with your heart, which is deceptive, which is ever changing. And that was where I was at. And you taught me about being intentional. And I know I think before I say I think. And you know, there were so many instances where I was trying to open up a conversation, and I'm trying to be mature and, like, you know, okay, we got to grow, and I'm opening the door for a discussion, and I'm thinking that I'm going to be the one to tell her, you know, this is where you were wrong. And she'd hit back with, well, the last time we had a conversation, you said this, this, and this. And I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot about that. Like, I don't even, did I say that? And you said this and this. So therefore, if that's the truth, you must have meant this when this happened, this incident. And I was like, I did say that. And now I can't get out of it because I said that. And to have someone, hold you accountable for what you say is a difficult thing to handle when you are an emotional person, when you're extremely talkative, when you don't have a good memory, and you don't think before you say. That was me. And so I realized, like, oh, I can't just say anything that I feel, because there's someone in the room that's going to hold me accountable. And mind you, I have two of you in my life. My husband is exactly the same. So the Lord was like, literally like, she needs growth, like the salt, like she needs extra scrutinizing. And so I get it at home and I get it at work.
But you know, we were talking about it recently, right? That on her end, it might feel like I'm doing that to you, but listen, people, it's reciprocal. All of this is a two-way street. So what I'm doing for you, you are also doing that for me, right? And because I feel like at the beginning, now I want to say I changed, but at the beginning I was very cynical. I was very almost like, how do I say this? Because what happens when you tend to be very logical about things is that you lose some emotion, and you tend to see others very emotionless. Yeah. Right. And obviously that you don't want that. That's never good. So what you taught me was that no, you know, I need to, because here's the thing, when you're very logical and you want reason above everything else, you disregard people's feelings, and you don't validate. And so I think, and that can be more harmful than good. I'm glad you stuck around and you were like, well, you know, I need to push through. But I think what it was is that you also let me have it. You also were like, well, you know what, you were hurting my feelings. That was hurtful. And so when you're, as much as you were confronted with me telling you you're inconsistent, I was also confronted with you telling me,
here are my emotions, deal with the consequences.
Exactly. You know, like So because I don't know about you people, but I didn't like hearing I was making someone feel miserable. I was hurting you. And yeah, that might not have been my intention, never my intention, but still I still did it. It was still a byproduct of me wanting to be reasonable and me wanting to be logical about things. And yes, facts don't care about your emotions, like people say, but we are called for a greater good
Purpose.
yeah, for a greater purpose. And I think that includes being compassionate and being humble and being loving. And I think you taught me that. You taught me how to be loving. You taught me how to be, hey, not everything is just logic. Not everything is just, reason and facts. And no, it can't be. You need a balance. You need balance, baby.
Moderation.
In moderation. So, which is why I think we've managed to sort of morph into each other, because we're both so different, and yet we can always agree on the very important things, which is God, our faith.
Yeah.
And you might approach it, and back then you approached it emotionally, but we still arrived at the same place. We need to love each other more. We need to show grace more, right? So,
what would you say, to start to conclude, would be what you've learned most in this relationship in your life? Not that I'm the best. But, what have you learned from this experience?
Because it's a delight. From our friendship, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that to show grace, or not grace, but to love, because I feel like I give people the benefit of the doubt, but I do it without care, in a way, sort of like, because I don't give a second thought to people sometimes, and it's like, okay, that's how I give the benefit of the doubt. I don't think about it anymore.
Yeah,
okay,
you let it go.
I let it go. But with you, it was different. With you, it was like, no, I don't want to hurt her again. I don't want to know that she probably went home and cried, and she probably spoke to her husband about me. So I think that I have it in me to be patient and to be loving. That because a lot of the times I didn't think I had it, because with my family I'm the same way. And so with my family, it was always like, man, you're mean. Like you're mean. So I for a very long time, I think I made it mine, of like, I am mean. I am tough. I am going to say how it is. And whether you like it or not, that's not my business. Because I'm saying the truth in a way, or because it's me, yes. And I knew how wrong I was. I knew that. But it wasn't until I was met with someone that was like, no, you need to change. Like, because you're going to see me here tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after. So we're not leaving. Or unless you're planning on quitting, I don't see how we can get past this if you don't change, if there's not a change. And I think what also helped is that I saw that the change was also a mutual thing, right? You were, as much as I was changing, you were changing. And so now I feel like we're at a point where we can say things without hurting each other,
we can even talk about tense things of okay, recently I asked her, which we won't delve into this, what annoys you about me that it's not going to change. And we were able to have that conversation with love and with mercy more than before. It's like, well, where's the list? Where do I start? And I'm gonna add that zing to what I'm saying.
El papiro. Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's what it was. You taught me you taught me that I can be patient, that I can be loving, and that I can I don't have to compromise my logical side or my reasonable side to know that I can still I can still tell you what it is, or the truth. But I don't have to be hurtful about it. Or I don't have to detach. That's the word. I don't have to detach myself from your feelings.
Yeah.
So I think,
that's what you learned.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
I think for me, I'm still learning a lot. But I think from this friendship, one, it was at a point in my life where there was a lot of changes. I mean, Lula has been here for me when I got married. She was here when I lost my dad. And so those experiences automatically like bring it up to the surface that you're going to be vulnerable and you're going to be going through things. And I think you handled everything that I've gone through with so much empathy. I don't even think I handle people the way that you do, because she's the definition of someone that, like, when you cry, I cry. When you laugh, I laugh, which I appreciate. But what I learned from you was definitely how to have tougher skin, how to not be ashamed of the fact that I have emotions. Even though you approached me in a different way, you never made me feel bad for crying or bad for being the way that I was. If anything, you know, you were always very much like, it's strength if you can cry, if you can actually be upfront with your emotions and say, this is how I feel. Like, it says a lot. So I've definitely learned that. But I think that you taught me that it's okay to expect something from a relationship. And that might sound very bad, because it's like, oh my God, like, you're expecting something out of Lula. But I think you taught me that it's like, it's okay for you to expect me to love you back. It's okay for you to expect me to be there for you too, you know? And I think that has given me a sense of peace, you know? And so, you know, we're saying, obviously, like, we're putting out our friendship out in the world, not because we're perfect, not because we have the best relationship, and we have our sisters, we have our cousins, we have our friends, I have my husband. I mean, we have relationships all over the place. Right. So I think what, you know, the point of it is, if you're wondering, you know, do I have that friend, you know, do I have that relationship with someone, definitely ask yourself those questions. You know, like, do you have someone in your life that is challenging you to be better? Do you have someone in your life that is making you grow? Or do you just have people in your life that tell you what you want to hear? And it is what it is. But then ask yourself, why do I want people around me that are just going to tell me what I want to hear? Am I, in a sense, failing myself by missing out on the growth? Because I don't want to hear the bad, or I don't want to hear that, like, you have to change this about yourself. And more importantly, you know, if you're in a relationship where you're giving and you're giving and you're giving and you're giving, and you're not really receiving that same kind of, you know, relationship, then, you know, you need to ask yourself why. You know, like, why do you feel like you don't deserve that back? You know, and that's something that's taken me a while for me to understand, and for me to be like, it's okay, you know, and I'm grateful for that, because it's so much better when you have that and you can be able to really depend on someone. And I think that sometimes that's scary. It's scary to depend on a friend or someone, because you're like, they're gonna let me down, or maybe I can't trust you that much because it's too much for you to handle. But that is why we're here. You know, we're here to have people around us. And I don't know why I feel the need to, like, say this, but, like, Lula and I both have had experiences at a point in our lives when we didn't have anyone at all. And at least in my experience, it was very lonely. It was extremely discouraging. And my approach was always, then I'm going to be the first person to say hi. I'm going to be the first person to say hello, to introduce myself. Not everybody's like that. And, you know, that's always been my way to encourage others. Like, if you don't find yourself with any people in your life, then make the first move, you know? Like, I've always said this, you know, about some of my friendships. But if that is you, you know, you're not alone. There's a lot of people who don't have friendships. There's a lot of people who take years to find, you know, people. And if you need someone, we're here, you know, we're available to hear you out, you know. And so, you know, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yes, I think it's important to add that change is good. Yeah, I think you said it at the beginning. Change is
inevitable.
Last time?
Growth is optional.
Right.
Yeah, in the
So
first episode.
because change is inevitable, the quicker you embrace that idea, the better for you. Definitely. So it wouldn't it be better to change for the better, right? And to change with someone for the better, to have that, I mean, it's a biblical principle as well,
It's
a friend
iron sharpens iron.
there you go, iron sharpens iron, right? And another one
Mejor besos
mejor crítica de un amigo que besos del enemigo, right? So you translate that. So I think it's definitely a blessing. It's definitely a blessing to have a friend that you can tell them, I don't like this about you, and whether you change it or not, but I don't like it, And then it's up to the other person. Okay, how much do I value this person that I can change it,
and that I can stay,
and hear this, and how much do I value their opinion, and is this something that I carry it with all my other relationships, right? Because I think that's also what we've realized in our friendship, that a lot of our things that we don't like of each other are things that we carry with other relationships. And when we started making changes, I don't know about you, but I saw a lot of positive things in other areas in my life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, I mean, change is because change is inevitable. Might as well take it, ride with it, and do it for the better. Do it for the glory of God, and and do it to become what we're called for, which is to love, to spread the gospel, to be compassionate and graceful. Yeah.
So to conclude, given that we are faith-based, and this podcast is going to touch on a lot of topics regarding what we believe in, we want to close off with a prayer.
Right. Yes.
Every podcast, if you're listening, we hope that you take something positive. We hope that you take something that you can take with you, and it's not just like, okay, I just listened to something, even though that's good. We all watch memes. They don't do anything for us. But we hope that if you do take the time to listen to us, that you do take something away.
Right.
And so why don't you lead us in a prayer? English or Spanish, it's fine.
Okay. No, I'll do English, because if I do Spanish, the Holy Spirit will descend. No, just kidding. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing us to speak your truth, because we spoke about love, we spoke about understanding, we spoke about grace, and showing each other love, understanding, and grace. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for our listeners. They might not be a lot, but I know they love us, because they stuck around for 30 minutes. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for allowing us to grow, for allowing us to understand that change is inevitable. Change comes from you, and because it comes from you, we need to give it back to you with our effort in changing. I ask you, God, that you que nos guardes, que nos protejas, que nos des un descanso agradable, que también protejas a todos los que nos están escuchando, que los bendigas, y nos vemos next week. All right. Thank you, God.
For episode 3.
Bye, bye.